Hey, I'm Nick, and before I've talked about how mindlessly going through the motions and spending time and working on something that doesn't have greater benefits in the long term can make you realize that you weren't really being as productive as you thought you were, or it's not actually brought you to where you want to be in the future, like what I've talked about with being super productive at homework and not focusing on any other goal can lead to you not achieving anything that you actually want to achieve in the future. But now I want to talk about that instead of ditching something, just simply changing it can actually provide better benefits in the long term and not change your goal entirely. Now what I mean by this isn't something like the homework, which is something that may not be part of your long-term goal. I'm more talking about something that is part of your long-term goal that you know that if you try hard on it will lead to where you want to stand in the future. I'm talking about that. And what I'm talking about is to just, as a rule, don't get comfortable with the tactics and the manner you're going about getting tasks done. Now, I don't mean feel bad about them. I mean experiment. I mean don't mindlessly go through the actions and actually think through what you're doing and more importantly how you're doing it, and see if there's any way to make that a slight bit more efficient. You see, if you're like me, you get comfortable with repetition. You get comfortable with knowing that something will happen the same way each time. You get comfortable with your habits, but habits aren't always good. Now, breaking habits is pretty difficult, but switching them up is not on the same level. Switching up a habit is much more likely to stick with you as you're still getting the same result, just going about it differently. Now, it's pretty hard to find an example of this concerned about learning something new or practicing something or getting good at something, as you probably are already doing this, going through different ways you could get more done and get to your goal faster. But an example for the people who are still unsure what this means, I'd refer to my breakfast. As a matter of fact, you see, I almost made it a lifestyle to always cook 4 eggs in an omelette. Now, this isn't a bad thing. As I said at the start, this isn't about changing what you're doing, it's changing how you're doing it. See, one day I recognized that it was actually quite time consuming cooking the eggs and slicing up the vegetables and then neatly laying them across the egg. So I looked at what I wanted to achieve during my breakfast, and that was while eating the eggs and eating the veggies. So what I did instead was eating the vegetables just by themselves and then cooking the eggs. Now, not only did this save time with making the eggs cook faster, and also save time with not having to lay down the vegetables, but it also made it easier to eat without having to worry about the taste of all the different vegetables. I could just eat them by themselves. But I went even further. You see, now the only thing that I was waiting on is for my eggs to cook. Now that made me realize that why wait for the eggs to cook? Just have them raw. Now, I am aware of the supposed health risks of raw eggs, but more as an example, I want to point out that through thinking about the method that I was using and having a different perspective on it, I was able to find a way to get the same thing done, just more efficiently. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope that second part in that example made sense. Follow up for more videos of the channel if you want to check them out, but until then, I'll see you later.